Welcome everyone to Algebra Examples. Today we're going to look at two functions and see what happens when we combine them using four operations that we're used to working with: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right, so the two functions we're working with, first one is x squared plus 2x, and the second one is 6 minus x squared. So they're slightly different. Let's see what happens when we start with adding these two functions. Now, notice that sometimes we write f plus g instead of putting f of x plus g of x. This means the same exact thing. It's just a shorthand. So we are looking at x squared plus 2x plus, and I'm going to put these all in parentheses, and then we can sort it out. 6 minus x squared. You'll notice as we go through here, we've got a plus x squared and a minus x squared, so those two are going to cancel each other out, and we end up with 2x plus 6 as our final solution there. All right, let's see what happens when we look at f minus g. All right, I'm going to skip writing the f of x plus g of x, or minus in this case, part out. We'll just go directly into plugging our functions in. X squared plus 2x, and we are subtracting 6 minus x squared. Now, this is where parentheses are really important because you'll notice we have that negative sign that has to distribute. Do not forget distributing things. This is why parentheses are our very best friend when it comes to doing math problems. Double negative always gives us a positive, so we are adding x squared and minusing 6. So we have two copies here of x squared. So we have 2x squared plus 2x minus 6, which is a cute little quadratic. And the first one was linear. Interesting. All right, let's go to the next one, f times g. So this is just basic multiplication. I say basic, but it's not as pretty as we're used to. We are again use our handy dandy parentheses here. And we are going to do our distribution. So we're going to start by multiplying our x squared to both terms in our second set of parentheses there. So that's going to give us 6x squared minus x squared times x squared. So that is x squared. I'll write it out twice. We'll do this twice so that we can see the algebra behind it, because sometimes people get tripped up, and that's understandable. Let's see. Yes, and there is a minus sign. Notice I put that in there because we have x squared times minus x squared. All right, then we have our second 2x, our second term, times everything in the last bit of parentheses. 2 times 6 is 12, so we have plus 12x, and 2x times a negative x squared, so 2x times x squared. And we'll just simplify that a little bit. X squared minus x to the fourth. What's happening there is when we have elements like this, we turn that into x to the 2 plus 2. So there are 4 x's. Another way of writing that out, here's another way of writing it out, is you have x times x, which gives us our x squared, times another x, which gives us our second x squared. So we have x to the fourth power there. And feel free whenever you're stuck in a test or a homework to write out stuff like this in little ways that help you remember what you are doing with those exponents. Since we know we can add those exponents, let's do that with our last term here, x times x squared. There are 3 copies of x there. And if we want to simplify this once more, I won't say simplify, pretty this up a little bit more. A lot of times we like to put our exponents in order where they are reducing. So this gives us x to the fourth, x cubed, x squared, x to the first. You'll notice there's no constant in here. There's no number at the end. Everything has an x attached to it somehow. All right, one more to go. Our last one, let's see, our last one is f divided by g. So in this one, we are looking at our f of x, which is x squared plus 2x, divided by our g, which is 6 minus x squared. And that's pretty much all that we can do with that one. If we wanted to, we can play around with it for a little bit. I will show you something we could do. If we really wanted to, we could turn this into something that looked, I would argue, worse, but some people would like that. Um, if you wanted to like get rid of your x squareds, you would basically pull an x squared out of all your terms there and cancel them. On your numerator, you'd be left with 1 plus 2 over x divided by 6 over x minus 1. Now, I would argue this one looks a little bit uglier because you've got smaller fractions within a bigger fraction. Um, but it's good to be able to play around with things like this because sometimes your teacher may give you something like this and you'll be expected to somehow get back to something that looks a little bit normal like that. So be cautious about that. Practice your algebra skills and just know that when it comes to math, the thing that hurts people the most is not being able to do algebra because they don't practice enough. So there is not enough you can do to help yourself in that way. Thanks for listening.